Yeah, I think it's given that ICT sector as a whole will grow quite rapidly in the next 3 to 5 years in Pakistan. One of the reasons for that is that we've had some suppression of growth due to economic conditions over the last 2 to 3 years. But there has been a growth in population, and there has also been a growth in the number of people who are getting educated. Historically, it has been seen that after 2 or 3 years of downturn in the economy, there is resilience and Pakistani economy comes back for various internal and external factors. The other factor to consider is that globally, technology is driving a lot of growth in many countries. So it is actually going to be opportune as well as a natural phenomena that the new technologies will leapfrog and enable the growth which is already pent up and about to happen. So the big challenge for the ICT sector is going to be how to scale to that growth and how to catch up on the infrastructure which allows that kind of growth to happen, as we have seen in the telecom sector in the last 5 to 10 years. So for all those ICT professionals and players in the market, either whether they are consumers or whether they are providers of technology products and services, one of the highest priorities should be to set up infrastructure in the country, whether it's for the organization, whether it's profit or non-profit, to set up infrastructure which is scalable to see the rapid to take care of the rapid growth which is expected to take place. Now, there are few strategies which need to be in place to make this growth deliberate. From an organizational perspective, we have small and medium enterprises increasingly using technology to scale their businesses. We have seen payment services take up rapidly since about the last 2 years, especially on the telecom networks. We have also seen faster growth in internet-based services, and also we have seen a consolidation amongst the banking sectors, which means the bigger banks now have more money and are looking to consolidate and increase their market share based on technology-driven products. And then if you see the region around Pakistan, you will also notice that in countries such as the Middle East to the west and India, and then the countries like Malaysia, Indonesia and Thailand to the east, technology has become a driver for national growth. So as professionals and as suppliers of technology, I would say that the biggest challenge is to put enterprise IT architectures in place which will scale you in the future. One of the legacy issues that we have seen in the past is that the last technology wave that actually happened in Pakistan was between the year 2001 and 2006. That was post.com. It was B2B focused. It was driven by the telcos, and it was driven by market euphoria, which we saw in Pakistan. There was an economic euphoria in the country and a lot of foreign investment came in. Now, during that period, a lot of technology products, services and infrastructures were set up to meet up with that rapid and sudden demand which had come up. And since it was not deliberate and strategic, therefore we have created almost a haphazard infrastructure. Almost any large organization you go into, you will find a lot of silos which have been set up. They've been set up in short periods of time. Go to market was the priority. So the back end was not well thought out to scale. But those are the problems that we are facing now. Most large organizations, including telcos, will tell you that. Now, but on top of that, we had a period of 2 or 3 years where we had a bit of a recession type of economy. The organizations did not take that time to streamline their enterprise architectures. I mean, very few did. And what has now happened is that we are still living with those silos. And in the future, it could hurt, because either you will have overcapacity on the one end, so it will increase your costs. On the other hand, you will have undercapacity. So that kind of enterprise planning of IT infrastructure is probably one of the top priorities. Now, the other priority which is equally important is to make sure that those enterprise infrastructures and architectures are secure, because we are doing a lot of payments online. We are doing a lot of banking services through alternate delivery channels such as ATMs, internet, mobile and phone. But we all know that the threats which have increased, threats which are people who have got malintent to break into these networks or commit frauds and breaches, their level of sophistication has gone up, and organized crime is on the rise. So it's equally important that we create architectures and we create them with a lot of security in place. That's a very big challenge for professionals, but it's not out of reach, and it can be controlled by doing, again, strategic planning on the information security front. So for example, some of the strategies which should come into play right now is, security runs on the 80-20 rule. So you can secure 20% of your vulnerable points and you will get 80% of your assets secure. That's the approach. There's no other approach that managers and professionals can follow. They should follow that, so which means they should prioritize which information they are going to protect and which assets they're going to protect. They have to know that you cannot protect everything. You cannot have zero risk. You will carry that risk, but you will manage it to a reasonable level. So it's very important not only to just develop a policy around your security, but also develop component level security controls and standards, which is a detailed level of security implementation, which doesn't actually always get done very well, because policy is an abstract concept and can be talked about, can be written, but to implement it in a legacy environment is very challenging, because there are issues in the legacy environment which are either not documented or they have been put there because there was no other way to do it. A security control can actually start shutting those things down, which is why I think there has to be now a very rapid focus on how are we going to implement the policies which we have talked about over the last 2 or 3 years. How are we going to implement them at component levels? That should be the focus for information security professionals going forward. And lastly, I would say that, but not the least, I would say that security awareness is very important and key to securing infrastructures, and the job of not only information security professionals but also technology professionals should be to educate awareness of security in 4 directions, so upward, downward and sideways. It should also never be thought that it's the security professionals who can ultimately secure infrastructures. The responsibility for security is everyone's responsibility. It starts from the consumer, goes all the way to the supplier, and includes the people who are operating the IT infrastructures. And the security professionals are there to guide organizations of what they need to do to secure their architectures, and then they are there to test out the controls which are in place. If we can follow that comprehensive approach in our organizations, then we'll be well prepared to cope with the growth which is going to happen now.